Welcome to my channel. If you like the content, please subscribe for more.
6 years ago today. 6 years ago, on this very day, I experienced my own personal D-Day. Although it has been a turbulent ride, I still occasionally think about it, especially on anniversaries like today, and reflect on what could have been and what my partner threw away. Our two children, whom we share together, are constantly on my mind, and I often wonder how deeply they were affected by the events of that day. On that fateful morning, my partner and I were sitting down to breakfast when she abruptly got up and said she was going to get ready for the day ahead. Despite having been married for 14 years, we had hit a rough patch and I had been struggling to do anything right in her eyes for a few weeks. She had been finding fault with everything I did and criticizing me at every opportunity. It was a complete change from the happy marriage we had enjoyed previously, where we worked well together and raised our children as a team. While she was getting ready, I began clearing the table and happened to glance at her phone when it chimed. Although I had never felt the need to snoop before, the message caught my attention and I looked down to see a text from another man, which read, "This is what you do to me in the morning." My heart sank as I realized what was happening. I confronted her and asked her to explain, but she feigned ignorance. Eventually, I demanded that she unlock her phone and show me the message. Despite her attempt to quickly swipe it away, I had already seen a nude photo of her in our bathroom and a suggestive message. As I reflect on the events of 6 years ago, I can still feel the weight of the emotional turmoil that I endured. It was my youngest son's birthday party, and I had to put on a happy face despite the fact that my heart had been ripped to shreds. The thought of facing our friends and family in just a few hours seemed daunting, but canceling the party was not an option. I knew that I had to grin and bear it for the sake of my son. After the party was over, I sought refuge at a friend's house, seeking solace and comfort from someone who understood the pain I was going through. It was in the following months that I learned that my wife had essentially thrown away everything for another man. There was no chance of reconciliation, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my life. The pain was unbearable, but I knew that I had to file for divorce and put in a clause for full custody of my son. My wife had made it clear that she wanted nothing to do with her previous life, including her own children. Despite the heartache and struggle, I refused to let this experience define me. Instead, I used it as a catalyst for growth and change. I underwent counseling, worked on my physical and mental health, and focused on building a successful career. Most importantly, I focused on being the best dad I could be for my sons. Today, they are amazing young men who make me proud every day. Recently, I have started dating again, and am encouraged by the healthy foundation that we are building. I know that I have the tools to love and trust again because I have worked hard to be ready for it. For those who have experienced infidelity, I want you to know that it does get better. The roller coaster of emotions is the worst thing you will ever go through, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But it is possible to survive and come out stronger on the other side. It may take forever for the scar to heal, but the important thing is to work on yourself and get through each day, knowing that over time, there will be far more highs than lows. There will always be days that remind you of the pain, but instead of letting it consume you, take a moment to wonder and then carry on with your day. Redditor's reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1. She will try to get in contact with the kids someday. Hopefully they tell her to go herself. Redditor 2. You should be proud of yourself. You've earned it. Redditor 3. You make an interesting point about your ex-wife criticizing you incessantly and generally running you down as a poor husband. Other Redditors need to understand this can be a classic red flag. Not always, of course, but something to keep in mind. My ex-wife did the same to me. Suddenly, no matter what I did, it was wrong. She made my life miserable. I found out her irritability and quarrelsome attitude was because my new job relocation took us away from her app, then left me without warning or even discussing the end of the marriage. 2 weeks later, after she left, I learnt about her app. She even used the excuse, "You're better off without me, I just make you miserable." Twisted logic to justify her guilt. Shameless. Up answer. Absolutely right. The way she was treating me, I knew something wasn't right and should have trusted my gut. I even talked to my best friend and my mom in the days leading up to D, trying to find out why my marriage had taken such a sudden turn. I know I wasn't the perfect husband, but I did try to be the best husband I could be. I think my ex treated me that way to justify her cheating. I guess, maybe in her mind, if she made me out to be a bad guy, it wouldn't be as bad of a thing to cheat. Story 2. Just found some things. Do I confront her? Hi there. My husband recently asked me for an open marriage. We've been having counseling for the past 3 weeks. It's complicated as he thinks he is bisexual, but wants to explore being with other women also. This weekend, he is out of town for a sports event he is participating in. I felt a few red flags and snooped in his email account. I found a photo of him with a girl, kind of a hug selfie, and reservations for 2 for dinner tomorrow night and a cocktail bar reservation after. Kind of in shock right now. He's back in 2 days. What on earth do I do now? Edit. We have 2 kids. Update. Just found some things. Do I confront him? Hello there. My wife recently asked me for an open marriage. We've been going to counseling for the past 3 weeks. It's a bit complicated as she thinks she is bisexual, but wants to explore being with other men as well. This weekend, she is out of town for a conference she is attending. I felt a few red flags and decided to check her email account. I found a photo of her with a guy, sort of a hug selfie, and reservations for 2 for dinner tomorrow night and a cocktail bar reservation after. I'm feeling quite shocked right now. She'll be back in 2 days, but I don't know what to do. Should I confront her? We have 2 children, so I'm really worried about the impact this could have on them. Update. Discovered husband's date night. I just wanted to give you all an update following your amazing support on Friday, which was the day I found out about my wife's infidelity. To give a brief summary of my original post, my wife requested an open marriage about 4 weeks ago and also mentioned that she thinks she might be bisexual. We've been attending couple and individual counseling. On Friday, while she was out of town, 1-hour flight away, for a sports event, I found a selfie of her with a young man, and I also discovered restaurant and bar reservations for Saturday night. I received a lot of helpful advice from this community, which was divided between confronting her at the restaurant, not possible due to the distance, and playing my cards close to my chest. Unfortunately, she called me to check in, and I couldn't control myself and revealed what I had found. She was caught off guard and had no excuse. After I told her to stop lying multiple times, she finally admitted that she had flown the young man with her, and they have been seeing each other since February, before she asked for an open marriage and gaslighted me into considering it to be supportive of her sexuality and for our children's stability. Something inside me snapped, and I told her that I would be out of the house by the time she returned so she could gather anything she needed, and then she could F off and stay that way until I'm ready to schedule a time with a counselor to discuss our immediate legal and physical separation. I made it clear that I don't want to see or talk to her again unless it's needed for our children or our separation. I hung up the phone after that. Although it was a terrible night, and I spent most of it imagining them at the restaurant, bar, and hotel, I strangely feel a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. For the past 4 weeks, I have been struggling to choose between her ultimatum of an open marriage or a parenting marriage or a parenting marriage, basically an in-house separation, neither of which I wanted, by the way. I wanted to keep and enhance our marriage. Now that the choice has been taken away from me, it's going to be difficult and painful. I'm dreading telling the kids and not seeing them every day, but it feels better than what I now realize was being manipulated, played, and ultimately betrayed. I don't think I could have gotten through Friday without your perspectives. Thank you so much. I will be making an appointment with a lawyer on Monday. Redditor's reactions. Next story after. Redditor 1. For the legal part, find all expenses she's been using for her affairs. My aunt used it against my uncle to help lower his payout of the house sale. It showed he used marriage assets for non-marriage or agreed items. Judge really didn't like that he used their shared account for his app. Redditor follow-up. Agreed. I acquired my ex's PayPal statements, which showed how much she'd spent on escorts. It made a huge difference with the division of marital assets. Redditor 2. As painful as that is for you, I believe you handled it well. Keep copies of all evidence to show your lawyer. Do you have family you can stay with for now? Stay strong for you and your kids. Keep us updated. Take care. Sending hugs. Redditor 3. Sometimes the best choice in life are simple but hard to make. And for your kids, don't worry. People overestimate quantity over quality with kids. And I'm sure even if you spend half the time with your kids, but put in twice the effort, they would be happier. And don't lie to them depending on their ages, but it's also their life that is about to change radically, and they should know why, even if it's in a kid-friendly way. Redditor follow-up. Don't lie to them, but don't villainize either. Even if her and her BFs might do that about you, Short term, it will feel fair, but long term, if you keep your head clear and focus on being truthful but in a rational, non too emotional way, the children will remember and know who behaved how. So, your mother and I had many differences. Neither of us was perfect. Your mother decided to find a different boyfriend. I am hurt by it, so I might be a little emotional at times. But it is her choice, and she is going to bear the consequences of that, such as us separating. It is not fair to you guys because you didn't do anything wrong. It's about us. But us pretending to be together and lying wouldn't be fair to you either. We still both love you and will be the best parents to you we can to the best of our abilities. Type of thing, just better worded than the way I did. Not throwing her under the bus will be hard, but in the long run, it will show who was and is the bigger person. Wish you best of luck. Story 3. I'm curious. Has anyone else had a partner whose infidelity was out of character and happened before a cancer diagnosis? I've posted here before about my wife who died from cancer earlier this year, and how I found out just afterwards that she'd been having an affair for about a year. This was a woman who for 29 years had told me she loved me almost daily and wanted to renew our vows on our 25th anniversary. But last year, her personality changed. She became increasingly withdrawn, snappy and distant. She also showed all the signs of having an affair, like constantly texting and being very evasive about it. She also forgot my birthday for the first time ever and didn't even properly acknowledge it when I reminded her. I'm not looking to explain away her affair. It was what it was, and it completely blindsided me. But several people have since told me similar stories about terminally ill people behaving hugely out of character and suddenly leaving their partners or having affairs. And it just makes me wonder if it's happened to other people too. Looking back now, I'm wondering if her behavior had something to do with the cancer even though she wasn't diagnosed till later. Or am I just trying to find excuses to make sense of this? Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1. I feel like they know they're unlikely to face consequences since they're already dying, so they feel like they should live a little. I'm not absolving them. It's incredibly selfish to do that. Reminds me of a comedy skit where a woman is dying and guilts her Biff into sleeping with her husband. Answer. Yeah, I wondered that too. I think S-time was a massive stress and anxiety buster for her too, and she was working away from home a lot at the time, so I wasn't there for her. It's still no excuse, but I think that's why it started. Redditor 2. Had it progressed to her brain? If it progressed to her brain, it could have changed her personality completely, depending on where the tumor was located. There's a few other organs also that could cause a hormonal storm that could change her personality. I guess the short answer is yes, it could be the cancer. 9100 likely if it was a cancer that progressed to her brain. Redditor 3. Was it brain cancer? My mom died of brain cancer many years ago when I was 18. While she didn't have an affair, it certainly changed her personality. She would get angry over really strange things and chew us out for seemingly no reason. No idea if it could be a factor in infidelity, though. Answer. Thanks. My wife's cancer was pancreatic, but her personality changed in the same way you're describing. Found out my wife was having an affair just after she died. Updated. It has been almost 8 months since my wife, 56, passed away from cancer, and I discovered her affair 4 days later when I checked her phone and laptop. I had to delete my previous post as I had accidentally shared too much personal information, but I wanted to provide an update on how I've coped with this situation. How can you heal from so much pain when you can never receive any closure or answers from the person you loved? As a bit of background, we were together for 30 years, and she would tell me every day how much she loved me. We were always a close and affectionate couple, until 2019. At that time, she was traveling abroad frequently for work. I had recently lost my mother and was going through menopause, so my libido was lower than usual and I wasn't sleeping well. We were both stressed and tired, and at that point, she was already sicker than we realized. I noticed she was suddenly always on her phone, and she became distant, distracted, and irritable with me in a way she never had before. All the signs were there, but I couldn't believe it was true because there was no reason for it. I confronted her about it, and she told me she had met a man on a flight home, and they had stayed in touch, but only as friends. He lived abroad, but in a place where she often traveled for work. I told her I was uncomfortable with the level of communication and expected her to tone it down. Later, I asked her directly if she was having an affair with him, but she denied it, and I really wanted to believe her. She was diagnosed with cancer and died 5 months later. After she died, I found out she had been having an affair for about a year. maybe more. I nearly went under. I nearly went under. I only got through her funeral by saying goodbye to the girl I married, not the woman she turned into. The picture on her coffin was one from years ago, not recent. The funeral was only 10 people because of COVID, and I told all of them the truth beforehand, including our 2 adult daughters because I couldn't have got through it otherwise. Then I had 3 sessions with a therapist. I needed help with the devastating lack of closure. I would never know why she did that to me, what it meant, or what was she planning to do. The therapist asked if I could normally trust my instincts. I said yes. She said if my instinct was that everything was okay before 2019, then it probably was. I know many of us have no idea about our partner's affairs, so I'm not sure if she's right, but it brought me some peace. So I'm choosing to believe that. I've found that every time I've got mad and cried and screamed at my dead wife, I've always felt better afterwards, as if I've moved on a step.
I've written her letters and left them lying around in case she can read them.
Stupid, I know, but it's been cathartic. I've done a lot of soul-searching, too. I can never forgive her, and I didn't deserve what she did to me. I never, ever stopped trying in our marriage. But I acknowledged that we weren't making enough time for each other. We'd stopped having date nights. We both had busy careers, and we were tired and stressed. When she got stressed, she would use ES time as a way to calm down, and at that time I hadn't really been feeling it that much. That's absolutely no excuse for what she did, but I believe it's the reason she started looking somewhere else. So 8 months later, I have mostly good days and a few bad nights. I'm more disappointed in her than angry now. I miss her presence in the house, but I feel like I'm growing into the space too. My kids are doing well. It kills me that I'll never know if she still loved me when she died, but I think she did. I never confronted her affair partner. My revenge has been his lack of closure. My ultimate satisfaction was knowing that he would have found the tribute website we set up and would have seen 30 years of happy family photos. He tried to steal my life and failed. I was the one who was with her when she died, not him. Maybe I'm hating her less because she was so ill at the time she did it. I even wonder if that explains her personality change. I guess I'm lucky not to have gone through a divorce or having to see her move on with someone else. Today is the anniversary of the last time I think she saw him. That's a big milestone I've been waiting to cross off my list. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, you're incredibly resilient. This internet stranger is so proud of you. Redditor 2, your story resonates with me. My wife passed away suddenly in August of 2020. 3 days later, I discovered that she had been having an affair, possibly for 18 months to 3 years, through her phone and computer. I'm still in shock, and the affair has drained all my grief away. I'm finding ways to not obsess over it, but it's hard to keep her secret, and I don't feel like I should protect her reputation anymore. Her friends and family keep telling me that she only talked about me, but it sickens me to hear that. Feel free to message me anytime. I'm sorry you're going through this. It's absolute hell. Answer. I'm sorry you're going through the same thing, and I completely agree that it disrupts the grieving process. I might appear to be okay, but I think it's because I'm still numb. Whenever I want to cry, I feel anger instead. Whenever I want to remember him, his affair is all I can think of. I suppose it just takes time. You don't have to keep her secret if you don't want to. Why should you? If others know, they can help you. I couldn't have gotten this far without my friends. They've been fantastic therapy for me, sending you virtual hugs. If you ever need to talk, don't hesitate to message me. Redditor 3, your closure can be living your best life regardless of what she did. Someone once told me, what could you do about it? Redditor 4, you acknowledge that you didn't make enough time for date nights, but you were in the same marriage and you didn't cheat on her. As for menopause and a lower libido, a good partner would openly communicate their needs. Did you cheat on her when she got cancer and needed you? Please don't blame yourself for her infidelity. She saw an opportunity and took it.
I've heard of so many cheaters who end up with cancer that sometimes I think their bodies are stressed from leading a double life, causing the cancer.
I know that's just my imagination, but it can't be healthy for the body. Answer. That's an interesting thought. I've wondered about that too. Maybe if someone senses that they're really ill, they want to live their life to the fullest and tick off every wild fantasy on their bucket list. Redditor 5, best wishes. You seem to be handling things better than I would.